Well, I'm gonna bring this back around to now. This is controversial. There's a little bit of a conspiracy here. If you go watch the Who Killed the Electric Car, remember the GM EV1?
I do, yeah.
So, for a long time, I have said on this very podcast, I'm not against electric vehicles. I'm not for them. I'm just a fan of automobiles, and if it's a good product, I'll tell you that, and if it's not a good product, I'll tell you that. And I think Jay and I both are pretty fascinated by the potential of what we're seeing happening here on almost like a Star Trek level sometimes.
Right.
But people have said frequently, your electric car is ultimately still powered by fossil fuels. And,
right.
This whole conspiracy of just getting you to buy an electric vehicle really is ultimately, even though you plug it into the wall at home, that power is coming from a fossil fuel somewhere. And so I was able to find a map, and we'll put this mentioned on the podcast page on partscounterguru.com, but it lists each of our 50 states in the United States, and it gives us a pie chart of where the electricity sources for that state come from. So pick just here, Jay, you want to pick a state, and I'll tell you, because we got rolling blackouts going on in California right now, right? There's a high electricity demand. And so the argument is, well, if we flood the roads with electric cars, we may not be able to power that. So here, pick a state, and I'll tell you any state. Just hopefully,
South Carolina.
Okay.
South Carolina.
I have to be able to locate it. But I got that one. Okay. South Carolina is over 50% nuclear power. It looks like they also have about 25% natural gas and somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15% coal.
Right, right.
Now, this one I kind of expected, but I didn't expect it to be as high. Washington State is over 50% hydropower.
Yeah.
And you think about Grand Coulee Dam and all that, I guess it makes sense, right? So
yeah, well, not only that, you've got the Columbia River also.
Yep.
You've got a lot of rivers. You also have the Skagit River.
Yep.
And all of this is Puget Sound Energy draws from that, or Seattle Power as well.
Yep.
And they do draw from that. So yeah, it's
what about Hawaii?
Quite interesting.
That does surprise
Hawaii
you?
is that does, man.
Over almost 75% oil.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense though, because they're an isolated state, really, to some degree, and everything. They don't really have. Well, I take that back. You would think that wind or solar power would be, would be like high on the list, but they're not. That's just so weird. Solar is a very small percent.
It is. Yeah. So I know there's a huge wind initiative in Kansas, because when you drive through there, it's like it's on their website. I mean, they're committed to, having a certain percentage of wind power in the coming years, but this is what surprised me. If you live in the following states and you have an electric vehicle, the chances are that electricity is coming from coal. So Kentucky, Missouri, Utah, Wyoming. These are all states that have over 50% of their electricity generated by coal. Nebraska is another one. Indiana.
Gosh, look at
Indiana.
West Virginia is like almost exclusively
Well,
coal.
You would expect that.
That makes
right?
sense. Yeah. And that's the neighbor to Kentucky, so that makes sense. And I was really surprised that Tennessee it's about not quite a quarter.
Yeah.
Of their usage. Of course, there are a lot of nuclear facilities in Tennessee, so they're close to 50% there on their facilities.
Texas and Florida over 50% natural gas.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. There's a lot coming out of those states, and your Gulf state. All the Gulf states, if you look at that, are really highly high on the natural gas list. I mean, if you look at Mississippi, man, wow. Look at how
Yeah.
much natural gas. They're like almost exclusively natural gas. I mean, mainly natural gas. It looks like
Alaska, 50%.
Nuclear. Yeah, that's a trip. Alaska is, but they've got, well, which just makes sense too. There's a lot of oil up in Alaska, man. So between them and Hawaii, I think them and Hawaii are like the two largest users of oil for energy. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Man, this is fascinating because it answers a question that I have often wondered, which is, where's that electricity coming from? You know,
Right.
you plug into the wall. It's just like that food on your plate. Where ultimately is that coming from? Don't say the grocery store, please.
Right. And you know what? Yeah. You know what doesn't surprise me is the 3 states represented for geothermal. Which is California, Nevada, as well as Utah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean, they're right there where all the, there's a lot of seismic activity and volcanic activity in those areas, man.
Wouldn't you expect to see some of that also in like Wyoming and Montana and Idaho, though? I mean, you think about Yellowstone, right?
You would, but again, they are within protected areas.
You can't. Yeah, that makes sense.
You can't really. Now, I think the current administration is really trying to get in there.
Yeah.
I know that they're also looking to just basically go up and have their way with Alaska.
Jay, when you say it like that, it sounds kind of dirty. But I mean,
Well, it is kind of dirty. Saving the planet, man, one car at a time.
Do I? I mean, is this turned into one of those where I need to, kind of bring up the?
Do it.
Bring up the Barry White, or
do it. Oh yeah, baby.
Oh wait, I always get the wrong one. It's that one. You wanna talk about having their way with Alaska now?
Yeah, just have your way with Alaska, baby.
All right. Wow.
Where did that go?
I don't know.
Stuff you didn't know, right?
Right.
Stuff you didn't know.